Welcome to the Tom Trebelhorn Report. On my show, you'll get an inside look at baseball today. I'll introduce you to prominent players and coaches around the league who have some interesting views about the game. This is our segment, Player to Player. In Around the Majors, we'll check in with top stars from both leagues. I'll introduce you to prominent players from places like New York, Minnesota, and Boston. On Like a Pro, you'll get tips from the best in the business on hitting, fielding, base running, and pitching. On the road to the big leagues, you'll meet an athlete struggling to make it to the majors. Finally, I'll take you behind the scenes on our segment, The Inside Story. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the Tom Trebelhorn Report. Coming up on Player for Player today, my guest will be Juan Nieves, left-handed pitcher of the Milwaukee Brewers. Please stay tuned. On Player to Player, my guest is Juan Nieves. And I think, Juan, the first thing I'd like to ask you, certainly you had a lot of success in the minor leagues. What are some of the adjustments you've had to make from pitching in the minor leagues to now pitching in a rotation with a Major League Baseball team?
Well, it's definitely it's been a big adjustment for me. It's a big change from AAA to the big leagues, and I believe you know, concentration has to be a little more steady to be consistent in the big leagues, and just be able to throw all your pitches for strikes and have a lot of confidence in yourself. And you know, you can get away with a lot of bad pitches in the minor leagues, but in the big leagues you have to be a little more fine and throw your game a little more better and be more consistent.
Now, when you get ready to make a start, we'll say your next start's coming up the middle part of this week. What do you do between now and your next start to get yourself ready for that night when you're going to go out there and face a very tough Major League Baseball team?
Well, I think, you know, your physical aspect of the game is very important. I run a lot and I do a little weight, swim a little bit. But also I start concentrating. My mind has to start getting set for that next start, visualizing myself, the pitches, the way I can pitch, and working my mechanics, throwing the side, and just getting mentally and physically ready for that next start.
Now, certainly the no-hitter was a big thing to get this season, and it was in the middle of one of our big streaks. Now, when you look back at that no-hitter, what are some of the things that you were able to do throughout those 9 innings that were really able to neutralize a very, very good offensive ball club in the Baltimore Orioles?
Well, Trev, I will tell you one thing. The most important thing in that game was my concentration. It was not a fact of the way I was feeling. That was out of the question at that point. I was just concentrating completely in the game, and my mind was right there, and everything went my way too, my good plays, and we hit the ball when we had to, and it was just something that gelled very well together.
Okay, as far as young people out there now, you've had a tremendous amount of success, not only in the sport of baseball, but you were a fine basketball player. You can certainly be a fine track man. I don't think there's any sport you could not excel at, except maybe middle linebacker in the NFL, because physically that's out of the question. But certainly your ability athletically. What are some things that young people should think about and try to follow, or maybe some tips you can give them to be the best possible athlete at any sport that they might be involved in, or in fact in anything in life? What are some of the key things you look at to really prepare yourself and to get yourself where you are right now?
Well, I believe Roberto Clemente used to talk to us when I was really young, and he used to emphasize the 3D. That's desire, devotion, and dedication. And, you know, if you combine all those 3 things together and you motivate yourself to do the best you can in anything you want to do, I think you would require a lot of desire, devotion, and dedication and everything.
Now, we've got a tough pennant race ahead of us. Right now, we're fortunate enough. We got off to a good start. We're in tight in a real tough division. Now, as you look forward to the rest of this season, are there any goals, or are there any things you're looking forward to or pointing towards through the rest of this 130 games we're going to have to play?
Well, Trev, just like representing my teammates in this situation, we're looking at every game as the key game of the year. And we're just playing hard day in, day out. And we're giving our best shot, playing aggressive baseball, and we're just doing the job we have to do day in, day out, and we're not worried about what's ahead of us. We worry about what today's game and tomorrow's game is going to be like.
You're from, you went to a prep school here in the United States, but of course you are of Puerto Rican ancestry. Was it tough? What was the toughest adjustment, coming up to a prep school in the New England area, or signing into pro ball and starting off that with a whole bunch of new people?
I think the toughest thing for me was to adjust at an early age to up in Connecticut, because I was only 15 years old, barely turning 15, and I think the customs were the hardest thing for me to adjust to. I had a culture shock. I was the first time away from home, and I think the toughest thing for me was that culture shock, the difference in language, and of course the weather, just the atmosphere around me was very tough for me to adjust, especially coming from a poor family to a very rich environment.
Is there any one thing in your background, either recently or as a young player or as a young person before you entered sports, is there any one thing that really got you going and motivated you to the extent that now you can be a fine major league pitcher? I mean, is there anything maybe you can point to that really got you started towards what you've achieved to this point?
Well, I think I had a coach of mine in prep school that was Cuban, and he died in '85. And my AAA year, as a matter of fact, you were our manager. He was always emphasizing to me, and he emphasized to me that I had to help my family, and I had to help myself because the way we were living. I think that was the biggest motivation. He died, and he left a lot of memories in my back and in my mind, and for me to motivate me enough to just to stay away from trouble and problems, and just keep on going and have that dedication and be a big league ball player.
I think the key thing that Juan stresses, like a lot of the guys we talk to stress, is dedication. And certainly the people that are surrounding you, whether it be a coach or a parent, a friend, a brother, be dedicated, listen to what they say, take the good advice and put it to good use, and you got a chance to excel in life. And certainly in Juan Nieves, this young man has excelled excellently at his chosen profession, and that's being a pitcher in the major league. Thanks for being with us this week on Player to Player. Coming up on Like a Pro, we'll get some tips on how to play the infield from Boston shortstop Spike Owens. Stay tuned. Spike Owens, shortstop of the Boston Red Sox, with some tips on how to play the infield.
Hi, today on Like a Pro, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about being a good infielder. One of the basics and most important things is having a good mental attitude and being prepared for every ball. You have to think, every ball is coming to me. That way, when it's hit to you, you're not surprised or you're not fooled because you knew it was going to come to you. So you have to think positive and think that every ball is coming to me. And to field the ball properly, you should field the ball out in front of you with your legs bent and go through the ball. One fluid motion through the ball to where you're going to make your throw. So if you're going to throw to first base, you should try to feel the ball going toward first base and come through and make a good solid throw. And to make the throw, you should try to grip the ball cross seams. That way you get a better rotation on the ball, and your ball will be straighter and not tend to tail or to go the opposite direction. So therefore, try to throw the ball cross seams. You should try to get the ball out of your glove and bring it out cross seams every time. And a good exercise for this is when you're sitting around just throwing the ball in your glove. When you go in there, get the feel of bringing it out cross seams. And you can do this at home or anywhere. Just come out cross seams every time. That way your arm's going to be stronger, you're going to get more on the throw, and it's going to be more accurate. Again, the most important thing of being a good infielder is concentrating on every pitch and on your throw to first base.
On today's Players Poll, we asked players what they'd enjoy doing most if they weren't playing baseball.
Probably working with kids, probably as a coach, or probably relating to them in a capacity like my involvement with the Leukemia Society.
Probably air traffic controlling. Well, I wanted to be a fireman or a policeman before I came into baseball, and I found those exciting jobs, and it's probably either one of those.
I'd like to be a singer or an actor, or a good actor.
Probably doing some kind of work with numbers, statistician type thing.
Playing basketball.
Oh, I think I'd enjoy being a salesman, some type of salesman at some job.
I'd like to be a pilot in either the Navy or the Air Force.
Probably being a DJ or playing basketball.
I don't know exactly. Being a millionaire, lying around on the beaches.
I'd like to work with in sales in some capacity and promotions, promoting some type of product, or working with kids.
Probably doing what you're doing right now. You know, working with a little radio and TV. I might enjoy it a little more than the guy behind you does, but I think I really would, though. I think I really would enjoy that.
Probably nothing.
Coming up on Around the Majors, we'll check in with Texas Rangers shortstop Scott Fletcher and his special guest, outfielder Pete Incaviglia. Please stay tuned. And now here's Scott Fletcher of the Texas Rangers.
How you doing? My guest today on the show is Pete Incaviglia. And Pete, I just want to ask you a few things about adjusting from college ball to the major league level. You went to a good school, Oklahoma State, which had a great baseball program. How did that prepare you for the major league?
I think college is good. I think, obviously I was still growing. I was still young. I think most of all, I grew up and I learned how to, take care of myself, balance my own checkbook, clean up my own room and just become an individual instead of having mom and dad there all the time. But as for baseball, it prepared me very well. It's a good baseball school. I think that every high school kid should go to college. I just don't believe that they're ready to go right to the professional league.
And also Oklahoma State has a very good teacher of the game over there in their coach, and I think that prepares you quite a bit for his teaching.
Yeah, he does. He takes the time to help you out. He prepares you to go to professional baseball if you want to. But he's still hard on your studies. He wants you to go to school in case, you don't make it. I know that you probably know that the minor leagues are something that's very, very rough, and, it takes a lot of patience and a lot of hard work to get from the minor leagues to the big leagues. And he takes the time to prepare you to play professional baseball. I think that's important.
Well, let's talk a little bit. We're talking about how you prepared to get to the major league level, and you did what a lot of players, only two other players I think have ever done before, and that's come right from the college level to the major leagues. And that's a feat that's not done very often. And what do you think was your biggest adjustment coming from college to the major league level?
Well, I think my biggest adjustment was the traveling, obviously the pitching, getting used to all the different ballparks and their dimensions, and I think that's very hard to get used to. I wasn't used to playing 160 games. You played college as 75 games maybe max, and I kind of ran out of gas towards the end. But I think my biggest adjustment was getting used to all the ballparks and the pitching. The pitching was a lot better. You don't see 3-1 sliders and knuckleballs and things. You usually see a 3-1 fastball called. It's just a different ball game, and I had to adjust. I had to learn how to think along the lines of how my other major league pitchers thought.
We talked about how you made it up here so quickly and the adjustments that you had to make. A lot of kids when they're growing up, they have the dream of playing at the major league level, and it happened quickly for you. A lot of guys that go through it and get to the minor leagues, and finally when they get to the major leagues, they say, it happened. I made it. My dream has come true. Was that, it happened so quickly for you. Did you have time to think about that? Was that a dream that you've always had? And when you finally got here, did you say, I've made it, I've got here, I've achieved my goal?
Yeah, I did. I said, I'm finally here, but the most important thing I always said is I'm here and I want to stay here. I think that you can't get, you're here, but you still got to perform every year because there's somebody behind you trying to take your job all the time. And I think that you got to go out and work hard. And I think another thing, a lot of people, as the team that we have, the players on our team, they took me in very well. And, they didn't say, hey, this guy's coming in his first year, thinks he's going to start, and push me away from the ball club. They all drew me in. And, that was made it a lot easier. A lot of ball clubs wouldn't have done that. You go to a place like the Yankees, they say, who does this kid think he is? And he's kind of, exclusive, away from the ball club. I think that was very important. It was a rough road. I think that when I finally got here, I had the exuberation after the first at bat. I had the exuberation, I'm here. Then I said, hey, I got to perform and I got to, keep my job.
Okay, let's talk a little bit, Pete, about your signing. You were drafted by Montreal, and you didn't want to play for Montreal, and you wanted to play for another ball club. And I know that you wanted to play for the Rangers because it was in warmer weather, Montreal was in colder weather. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, at first I wasn't really that upset every time the Montreal drafted me. I said, fine, I'll play wherever I'm going to go play. And we had a couple of negotiations for about 2 weeks, and nothing got happened. And Then we, supposedly, my agent called me and said that we had a deal. We had a proposed deal, and I was getting ready to go up to Montreal, and this was about 3 weeks after the draft. And I was, you know, on my way to the airport. And at the airport, I got a call from my agent saying that the deal had been reneged, that they reneged the deal. So I just found out, out of frustration and not playing for 3 weeks, and being disguised, said, fine, just forget it. I'm not going to play for you guys, and, you know, nothing against you. I'm just, you know, tired of it. Just trade me, or I'm going to go on the supplemental draft. And that's what it went down to, and it went down to about all the way after the World Series, and finally the Rangers started talking to me, and, you know, we worked out a deal in about 3 days.
Well, I'm glad it worked out.
Thanks,
Coming up on the road to the big leagues, we'll check in with Texas Ranger minor league prospect Kevin Reiner. Please stay tuned. Now on the road to the big leagues, let's meet Kevin Reiner.
It's the kind of noise that catches your attention. Whether it's in batting practice or in a real game, there isn't a sweeter sound in baseball than the crack of a bat on a cowhide-covered ball. 22-year-old Kevin Reiner is making a habit of such sweet sounds, while pitchers throughout the Florida State League can't seem to turn the volume down. At 6'2", 215 pounds, Reimer has the look of a power hitter, and that's just what he is. Last year, in his first full season of minor league ball, Reimer walloped 16 homers while driving in 76 runs to rank near the top of the Carolina League. This year, the Texas Rangers elevated their protege to their high single-A club in Port Charlotte, Florida, and Reimer has responded with more power and leadership.
Right now, my strong point's my hitting. I hit the long ball, and I have a strong arm. I just got to work on control a little bit, and decent speed for my size, but right now I feel the only thing that's holding me back is my defense. So hopefully I'll just be an adequate defensive player, and that someday I'll make it.
Reimer is splitting his time between first base and left field, and he says he will be a decent fielder once a permanent position is settled on. But coaches agree that Reimer is going to make it to the majors on the strength of his hitting.
Kevin has got some of the best bat speed that I've seen in any player that I've ever worked with. He's got good natural strength. He's a big kid, but you see a lot of big kids that have long, slow bats, and he's just the opposite. I don't know where we'd be without Kevin. He carried us the first week in the season. With the bat speed he generates and his ability to hit right-handed pitchers exceptionally well, and he's shown the ability to hit left-handed pitchers better and better, yeah, he's got to be considered a prospect in my eyes.
It's been a real joy working with Kevin. He makes adjustments well, and he has tremendous bat speed, which is one of the main things we look for in a hitter. And I expect big things of Kevin. He's a hard worker, he's determined, and he's a smart young man.
Reimer has come by his baseball smarts in an unconventional manner because he never played high school ball. Not because he didn't want to, but because it wasn't available in Kevin's hometown of Enderby, British Columbia. Even so, Kevin didn't have to look farther than his own front yard for instruction, because his dad, Gary Reimer, was one of the first Canadians to play professional ball in the state.
He was my inspiration. When he quit, I decided that I wanted to take over in his footsteps and maybe overpass what he did. He made it to AAA and played there for a few years, and played with injuries. He didn't go any further, but hopefully someday I'll be able to get as far as he did and maybe go further. When I was younger growing up, my father wanted me to letter in 2 sports when I went to college. He wanted me to go to a Minnesota school or North Dakota or something like that to play hockey and baseball. But I felt if I was going to make it in baseball that I had to dedicate myself totally to baseball and play every day. So I went down to Southern California and played at JC there for a couple years.
As a Canadian, Reimer had a lot to overcome when he arrived to play in the United States. He was physically ready, but mentally unprepared.
Yeah, I wanted to show that I could play baseball down there and I could play at the same level as they could. At first, I was really pressing hard. I wanted to prove myself right away, and I was really looking bad and embarrassed myself quite a bit. But after a while, I regained the respect, and I played quite well.
And now, observers say it's just a matter of time before Reimer develops into a big leaguer. And for the player himself, patience is the order of the day.
You see other people who are moving up and stuff like that, you feel you got a little bit more talent than they do. But, you know, I'm not going to complain or get all worried about that. I'm just going to do my best at the level I'm at, and hopefully I'll get my chance, and when I do, I'll take advantage of it.
On the road to the big leagues, this is Ben Bensinger reporting.
Thanks Thanks for watching this week's show, and remember, you can catch all the Brewer action live on WVTV and the entire Brewer Network. See you next week.